If you weren't here the first week, let me tell you our heart behind. We're trying to self-discover. You ever started down a journey and you're trying to learn as you go and maybe put those pieces together? I think that's kind of what we're doing, in the sense that I don't think we've ever done this before. My heart has always been to bring into people's lives a sense of healing and a wholeness. And through my own journey in life, being aware of those things and how we deal with past traumas in our life, and disappointments, failures, all those things, abuses, how we deal with that. But I don't know whether you realize this as I do, but there's trauma going on in our world every day. I mean, you don't have to go, all you got to do is turn on the television and you see trauma, right? All you got to do is listen to people in Walmart and you see people struggling with issues, struggling with what to do, sense of failure on their part if it's their fault. So in a world filled with trauma, where do those people go and find a place of sacred healing where they can step out of that and find a place to ruminate, and we begin to create those places for healing? Interestingly enough, over the last year or two, as I've taught and different people have heard me, specifically Katie, and her work within school systems, and this emerging sense of being trauma-informed, and that doesn't mean you know everything, that just means being aware of in some degree, and doing that. So in the last 6-7 months, Katie and others and Heather and I have thought about how do we practically do that, recognizing our own sense, recognizing what are the, sometimes I don't think we recognize we're living in trauma. And what are some practical ways of dealing with those things in ourselves, and how do we be aware and conscious of the cultures in which we live that would invite others into that area. So, Katie's experience, her expertise, her education, just lots of things, lend itself to how might a church do that? How might a church intentionally, consciously do that? And I don't know that I know of another church that's tried to ask that question and move into it and move cross-science. And by that I mean I really am challenged in my own life to move not just theologically, but psychologically. Not just psychologically, but physically. And I think one of the things we do in the church is we forget that there is psychology. There are things we can learn, and there's physical things that go. How do we cross science and read across things? I do think people get blinders and they get stuck in this, and they don't know how to read over here, how to experience and bring those together. I'm a convergent person. How do all those bring together? Where's that sweet spot there? And you're seeing that literally take place with Katie and I and others. So I'm just real grateful you're here. We're going to do this for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know that Katie realized how intentionally I was going to hand these Wednesday nights. Say, let's try to figure that out. How do we do that here? So I'm not going to go through all of Katie's accolades, but there's a lot of them. So my prayer is that we just kind of journey through this together and see where it takes us. See where it takes us, see how we might embody that in the church, and see what happens. So Katie, here's the ball, honey. Go for it. You got a mic on.
I don't know
You won't need
if this has turned me on yet. All right, we good? We're good. Okay. So accolades don't mean anything in the world. I am someone like you who has experienced or not experienced trauma and learned through years of trying to figure out what happened to me and why did I end up being successful? How did I get to where I'm at? How did I get to the place where I have so many platforms where I get to share this work and research with others? And honestly, this has been, Rebecca is one of my colleagues. She attends here as well, and she asked me today, how are you going to keep doing this? Like you're doing Monday night women's group, you're doing Wednesdays at the church now, you signed up for this and that, and you have work and you have family, and I just said, this is feeding every piece of my soul. Hi, I didn't expect to see you. Hi. Okay, so like this is who I am, and this is what I do, and I'm so honored and blessed to be able to share it with you. But we're going to play a game tonight. And the game we're going to play is going to model for us, it's called the Brain Architecture Game. It is out of Harvard. I don't know about you, but I think people who go to Harvard are kind of smart. Maybe. Either that or they have a lot of money and a legacy. But this game has been an amazing way to show the connections that happen in our brain. So what we know about trauma is that it actually can start to impact the body at conception. So if we believe that we are formed in our mother's womb and that was the beginning of who we are as a human, then it makes sense that things that are happening on the outside of the world to our mother at the same time can impact what's happening inside of our body. And this game represents those first 8 years of a child. So Lucas, I'm going to have you show me what video comes next. This is very awkward for me because Lucas is controlling my slides from really far away. So if he could show me what video comes next, maybe. Do you remember? Yes, we're going to watch this really quick, okay? And then we're going to come back and play the game.
Learning to deal with stress is an important part of healthy development. When experiencing stress, the stress response system is activated. The body and brain go on alert. There's an adrenaline rush, increased heart rate, and an increase in stress hormone levels. When the stress is relieved after a short time, or a young child receives support from caring adults, the stress response winds down and the body quickly returns to normal. In severe situations, such as ongoing abuse and neglect, where there is no caring adult to act as a buffer against the stress response stays activated. Even when there is no apparent physical harm, the extended absence of response from adults can activate the stress response system. Constant activation of the stress response overloads developing systems, with serious, lifelong consequences for the child. This is known as toxic stress. Over time, this results in a stress response system set permanently on high alert. In the areas of the brain dedicated to learning and reasoning, the neural connections that comprise brain architecture are weaker and fewer in number. Science shows that the prolonged activation of stress hormones in early childhood can actually reduce neural connections in these important areas of the brain at just the time when they should be growing new ones. Toxic stress can be avoided if we ensure that the environments in which children grow and develop are nurturing, stable, and engaging.
So that just kind of sets us up to understand a little bit of the science behind what's happening in the brain, because I don't know about you, but I'm not a brain scientist, so it's hard for me to really understand all those things. But it becomes really simple to understand them when I start using straws and pipe cleaners, okay? So I'm going to orient you to your tools here. The first thing I want, somebody at your table, pick the person who looks like they are the most on top of it, okay? This might be a nose goes moment, if you know nose goes. Yep, I see the papers getting past the teachers all over the place. That person needs this piece of paper and the pencil. This piece of paper and the pencil. Pick the person in your group. Pick the person in your group who looks to be the person who would be, if we were the kind of people who went to Vegas, they would be the person you want at the craps table with you, okay? So forgive me for saying that, but who is that person at your table? Go ahead and identify him, it's all right, and give them the die. We're gonna roll some die, okay? We're in church, it's okay. Promise, we're not doing anything bad. Find the die in there, okay? Give it to the person who looks like they'd be the most blessed at the craps table. You're gonna want them, okay? Then inside you have some decks of cards. Okay? Got all these decks? Organize them in order from 1 to 8. So just keep them paper clipped, but just stack them up. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, just so you can grab them quickly. Now, this game has a lot of rules, and I'm going to change the rules on you a couple of times because isn't that the way life works? I am not. That's how it works, right? The rules change, okay? So now you got the dice handed to somebody, you got the cards handed to somebody, the journal and the pencil handed to somebody. The next thing we need is to know what we have. One person for right now. Yep. All the cards to one person. Got some super gifted tables in this room. Okay. There's a pink card. Pink card. Give that to somebody. It doesn't matter who that one goes to. I know it's high, right? Okay. Now, the straws and the pipe cleaners are going to represent the neural connections that we're making in the brain. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is we're actually going to build a brain from the moment a child is conceived until they are 8 years old. Now, I'm going to be honest, this game normally takes about an hour to play, and I know y'all don't want to be here until 9 o'clock tonight. So we're going to go at rapid speed. You look smart. You can handle it, okay? So if you could go forward a couple of slides, Lucas. Next one. Yeah, next one. This is how I teach, by the way. Okay, so do you see over here where we have the straws and the pipe cleaners? Okay, there are going to be times in the game where you get a straw and a pipe cleaner, and you put the pipe cleaner through the straw because it makes it stronger, right? There will be times where you just get a pipe cleaner. And it's going to depend on what happens to your child. Your goal is to build a tall and strong brain. That's what we want. That's what we need in order to really be successful. We need a tall, strong brain, which would mean we have a resilient brain, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is number 1 there, says roll the die to determine your base. Pastor has talked about this a while. We don't get to choose the family we are born into. You are born at the mercy of the world. Right, we just sometimes don't. You don't always get the lucky straw. So here we go. You're going to roll the die. Give it to that lucky person, I told you, right? Roll it. Okay, now, on your paper, it tells you what kind of base you're going to build. So if you rolled a 1, you're getting those, the white is pipe cleaners, black is straws. So if you're getting a 1, you get 3 pipe cleaners to build your brain base. If you rolled a 2, you get 3 pipe cleaners and 1 straw. You're picking it up yet? If you got a 3, you get 3 pipe cleaners and 3 straws. If 4, you get 4 pipe cleaners and 1 straw. A 5, 4 pipe cleaners, 2 straws. A 6, you get 4 pipe cleaners, 4 straws. I'll come around. Okay, ready? So what'd you roll? What'd you guys roll? You don't have a dice. What kind of teacher am I? There's one. Okay. All right. Roll it. Yep, roll it. You got a 1, so you're going to get 3 pipe cleaners, and you're going to build that base, okay? You're going to build a triangle shape with it. Now, here's the rules. Your pipe cleaners must be attached at all ends, so you can't leave any open spaces. If we know anything about the brain, we know those neurons connect to each other. What did you guys roll?
I got a 2.
Okay, you got a 2, so you're going to get 1 straw and 3 pipe cleaners. Build a triangle out of that. Okay? You know what you're doing? Yep, so you connect them. You're going to build that shape you see on the screen. Good job. Nice work. Okay. Good job. It does not really matter how you connect them. No, you can connect them in any way you want. Right, yep, you're good. You're good? All right. The next thing we're going to do, let's go to the next slide, Luke. Now, we don't get to decide the family we're born into, and we really have no control over the community we're born into either, right? You're born and your parents have a community that exists, and it's either a strong community or it's not. So I want you to hand that die to that lucky person again. You're going to roll it. Now, on that pink card, you guys are good. This team over here, they're hard to beat. Whatever number you rolled, take that many straws and put them on that pink card. Take that many straws and put them on that pink card. If you rolled a 1, you get 1 straw. All right, these are the social supports you have when you're born. This is, I think about my own kiddo. When she was born, she has great grandparents. I have a good circle of friends. When we started coming here, she immediately had a whole family of people at 5 weeks old that were in her corner, right? Your social supports are the people that you can call on at any time in life that are outside of your immediate family unit that help buffer traumatic experiences that you have, okay? So throughout the game, when life gets tough, you can use a social support, meaning you might not earn a straw in the role you get, but you can say, oh, but in this situation, I would have called on to my pastor, and he would have been there to support me, and you can pull a straw at that time, okay? So however many you have, you can use them at any point in the game. Think about when you would call someone to help you. Okay, next slide, Luke. We all got their straws, right? Okay, whew. Now, again, we're gonna play a rapid speed. I'm gonna make some changes to the rules. You're going to take year one, take off the paper clip, hold the cards upside down so you can't see them, right? You're gonna fan them out. We're gonna pick a card, any card, okay? All right, you need to draw 3. So at your table, just as a table, not each individual, as a table, grab 3 of those cards and flip them over. Okay, now, here's what you do. Nope. If you drew a green colored card, a teal colored card, that is a positive life experience. It's gonna help you build a tall, strong brain. You get a pipe cleaner and a straw. If you drew a red card, that is a toxic experience in your life. You only get a pipe cleaner. You only get a pipe cleaner. If you got a yellow, I need you to hand that dice to the lucky person again.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay?
We do 3.
So you're gonna get, for each card, you get the item, okay? All right, if you have a yellow card, hold up the die in your hand real quick for me if you had a yellow card. Roll the die. If it is an even number, that was able to fall to the positive side for you. You get a straw and a pipe cleaner. If you rolled an odd, then that means it fell to the toxic side. You only get a pipe cleaner. I'll come around and help you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna build that first level. I got you, I know it's clear as mud right now. Trust me, okay? Your goal is to build up from your base. So take the materials you've earned and attach them to your brain, and you're trying to build up. Everything has to be closed. You have to connect all of your pipe cleaners somehow, have to connect to an end, okay? So you rolled an odd, so you get 3 pipe cleaners. Good job.
And then where are we going to stick the other guys?
What'd you roll? And you rolled an odd, so you should have 2 pipe cleaners and 2, yep, good job. Okay, the next thing I need you to do as you're building is someone needs to read what happened to your child in this first year of their life. So at each table, someone read those cards and sit for a minute with what happened that year to that child.
This is Wednesday. I wasn't expecting to think. Oh, you get just a pipe cleaner. Did you roll another dice for this? Yeah, we got 3.
Okay, so they get another pipe cleaner.
And then the green means you get a straw.
Remember to keep those 1 straws that are on your pink space, keep them sacred, okay? You can use those at any point, but don't add them in yet. Good job. The person with the paper, if you could be our record keeper, what you need to do there is you need to circle. You have 3 spots on year 1, green, yellow, red. Circle what colors you drew, and then circle if you use an extra social support. That way we have a record of this kiddo's life.
Like the word no?
Yeah, circle the word no, but then circle in year 1. So, okay, but treat each one like its own card.
Oh.
Yeah. And then this one here needs to be connected to something else. Okay, can't be dangling. No dangling neurons. Everything has to be connected. All right, Year 2, you're going to play exactly the same, okay? So you can continue. So again, let's flip to year 2, Lucas. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm not changing rules on you yet. Go ahead and continue that same process for years 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember, your goal is to build a tall and strong brain. Don't forget to read the cards out loud. We want to know what happens to the child, not just that they had a toxic thing. What was the toxic thing? I'll continue to walk around as you're building.
Do we roll multiple times?
No, so now whatever you rolled stands.
Okay.
So if you rolled, so now you just get pipe cleaners for these.
Okay.
Does the actual card on very top count? The one that
No,
tells
no,
you-
no, not the direction card. Yeah, take that one off, yeah.
It was blue.
We got caregiver substance.
Hey, we got one blue.
They don't go to daycare here.
So we actually get.
I'm not doing that.
Need an even number, desperately. There you go, there you go.
So we get. I thought one good part happens. Don't you just get one pipe cleaner and one straw?
Yes.
So how do we end up with?
We only get 3.
Yeah, we only get 3 then.
So,
Right?
Okay.
yeah. There you go. Yep. Remember, I think I hear it happening at tables. You cannot unhook anything either. Once it's hooked, it's got to stay hooked. You can't go back and redo your life, right? I wish you could, but you can't. So you cannot unhook any of your pipe cleaners. Once they're attached, they're attached.
You're the master builder, buddy.
I was trying to use that.
You can add down to the bottom. Like you could put something here to strengthen it.
We can go across the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
I'm trying to put it up there.
Yeah. You can add to your base. You just can't undo your base.
Maybe on this one, I need to circle all 3 colors.
Yeah.
So what if I have straws, but I don't have any?
So you have those social supports, so you can use those at any point to add in
I
strength.
add these two straws, but I don't have them. Is that?
We don't have a pipe cleaner to put them on.
We get a pipe cleaner and straw
Yeah.
with the green.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You good?
We could use this lifeline. But how? Because we're still gonna have to do the same thing. We're still gonna be like that, because there's no other way to go.
Yeah, it's got to connect somewhere.
But don't the straws have to be,
Yes, inside. Mhm.
so.
Yeah, they have to be filled.
Did I use the social support? Yes, oh, no, we didn't on the first
Right,
one.
right.
But on this year,
We can't go
this
back
one
to
we
social
did.
support.
So what do I?
So just circle
the yellow?
yes. Just circle the word yes. Mhm.
Yes, he was.
Your child's having a great life.
I don't know if I'm recording this right, darling. I don't know what these are 1 card, 2 card, 3 card.
First card, second card, third card. Yep.
I messed up in year 1. Year 1 was right.
No, it's okay. Year 1 is rough. Nobody knows what they're doing in year 1.
Building up.
Yeah. You want to be tall and strong. Both. Yeah. So you might have to compromise one for the other. Which one would you compromise? Would you rather be short and strong or tall and weak? That's what I agree. I agree. That's what I say all the time. Remember, only go up to year 5. Once you get to year 5, you get to take a little mental break. Okay? One pipe cleaner, one straw, one of each.
Okay, so that means we only get.
Don't forget to read what happens to your child.
That was green, green.
And are we using support?
Okay. All right, Derek. Oh, we're not too bad.
What did we get?
We got.
Well, given all the red we had and we started out with a premature birth, we're not doing bad.
Don't forget about those social supports. Remember, you got people in your corner. How can you use them?
Don't look at me like that.
Yeah.
I want to know if this happens after year 8.
You want to know what?
What happens if you're 40 and this stuff happens?
We're going to talk about that.
What year? We're 4. So let's go ahead and use the social.
Okay, let's try that.
What year are you guys on?
2.
It's only 365 days in a year, guys.
For gold, for yellow, you get what? Straw?
Okay, what was the meeting?
Oh, okay, so you got one.
Okay, so year 4, chaotic, dangerous childcare facility. There's a lot of childcare issues. I am a childcare provider, and
I
that
hear
makes
ya.
me really no pressure.
Remember, it's an early childhood game. So,
But still,
yeah, yeah.
We have to connect all of them
Yes, they must all be connected.
each year.
Each year, everything has to be connected somewhere. So, like, you can't have a dangling neuron. So they don't all have to connect together. You could connect that one back down to the bottom. But it has to be connected somewhere.
I mean, it's getting taller, isn't it? I think it's beautiful.
Hey. Is it too late to text that to you? And, no. Okay, text it to yourself, and then it would go in between those two brown slides at the. Okay. I'll just come back and get it. If you are at year 5, if you're at year 5, kind of show me somehow. Somebody signal to me. Where are you guys at? You're at 5? Fabiola, what year are you guys at? 4. Carly, what year are you guys at? 4. Lauren, what year are you guys at? 5. 5. 5. Annie, what year are you guys at? 5. Okay. Amos, what year are you guys at? 4, okay. I'm going to go ahead and tell you how the rules change at year 6, okay? So if everybody could pause for just a second. What happens at the age of 5 in a child's life? They go to school. When we go to school, what happens to our awareness of the world? It expands greatly, right? And likely I've been somewhere, even if I went to preschool, right? My life is usually anchored by other people who could afford to go to that preschool or that daycare center, right? So my awareness of the world isn't very big because I've usually been surrounded by people who are like me. But man, I taught kindergarten. You go into kindergarten and you realize that you're not as rich as you thought you were, or your family has got some stuff happening. Maybe your parents get divorced and you realize it. So before, you were just kind of living life. Right? You're just going through, you're living life. You didn't really have a care in the world. Am I going to get fed? Do I got a teddy bear? Am I good? But man, kindergarten hits, and suddenly so does the weight of the experiences we have in life. So, From now on, there are no straws unless you have social supports. So from now on, you just get a pipe cleaner if you have a green. Yellow, you will get whatever you've been getting this whole time for yellow. Okay, so continue to follow the same rule for yellow, but it's just a pipe cleaner if you're going to get something positive. If it's falling to the toxic side, if it's red, you now get a weight because you can suddenly feel the weight of the world differently. The weight must be hung from the tallest point of your structure. If your brain collapses, you're out of the game. Okay? So continue years 6, 7, and 8 until your brain collapses. I'll come around and help.
We're dead. We quit.
I think you're okay for a year.
I could do an angle like this, right?
Gravity and earthquake. Bad day.
I know you might not all be finished, but in 3 minutes, I'm gonna pause you, whether you're done or not, okay? So play for 3 more minutes, and then we're gonna pause. Social supports. You've got straws. Use them. If you still have social supports, I would use them. You guys had a stacked deck to start with. Good life.
Trying to reach out for this guy.
Okay, no judgment.
Higher.
It is what I said. Keep going higher. So these happened before this. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay.
Go away.
There's always a cheater in the room, guys. Always. Oh no. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause you. There's no winner. Okay, so we're gonna pause. Let's put our brains in the center of our tables. You might not have made it all the way through year 8. Actually, if you can, could you just kind of hold your brain up high? Somebody stand up with it and hold it up so we can kind of see what you had. And then Lucas, if you could go to the first brown slide. All right, so we have some nice engineers in here. Some people understand triangles is really what it comes down to. Okay, so let's process for just a minute in terms of what happened to the child that you were building their brain up, okay? So I have some questions up here. I'm gonna put a copy of it at your table too, because for me, I'm blind, that's hard to see. But what I want you to talk about is what happened to that child in those first 8 years of their life. What surprised you? What saddens you? How did you use social supports for that kiddo? How do you think their life is gonna continue? So thinking about what they've already lived with, it has happened to them. And I want you to notice I keep saying that phrase specifically. What happened to the child. It's not of the fault at all of the kiddo that experienced it, but what happened to them. So go ahead and discuss that at your table for just a few moments, okay? I'm gonna try to get you out of here as close on time as possible. I am not a Moore.
Can't lay hands on your child.
We put our cards back in the deck because they were so horrific. We were trying to suppress our emotions.
Well, you know, it's okay. It's hard. Yes, as you're having this conversation, if somebody wants to fiddle with taking the brain apart and putting it back in the bag, I'd appreciate it. I am a teacher. That means I'm broke, which means I don't have money for pipe cleaners and straws. So if you could take the brains apart and put them back together, I would appreciate that. Put them back in the bag.
Okay, somebody just gotta have money for this kid like this. They're gonna end up in debt.
Removed from the home by child protective. So we had the 6 outside supports. Well, and we started out with the math.
But I mean, that goes forward.
But teenagers use Google instead of their social support. They're just done.
That's really what saved us. Because we got off the rotten start, but we had those 6.
All right, I'm going to put a pause on that conversation while also saying within that what we can accomplish in an hour is just such a small piece of what we should be doing. So I'm hoping that what we're doing here is starting conversations that we can continue in the foyer on Sunday morning, on other Wednesday evenings before church starts, right? I mean, just in those moments where we can connect and continue this, that we're seeing each other differently. Heather, you want to go, do you have those? Lucas, will you go to the next slide, the one I asked you to add in last minute? Because he's that good, y'all. So this is a picture that has, I've created this before a conference that we host in Kansas City, right before the first one, so 3 years ago. And I tweeted it out, and it got a lot of I don't know, retweets or whatever you get on Twitter. And as I was building it, though, basically what it says is, before the age of 18, did the child you have in mind, and my purpose here was to help other people understand that trauma is not just for those kids. It's not just kids who live in that neighborhood, or who come from that family, who come from that background or race, ethnicity, or social economic status. Trauma affects every single one of us, and it has since the beginning of time, okay? So as I was building this slide, it says, divorced or separated, a guardian that died, a guardian who was mentally ill or suicidal, depressed, abuse from alcohol, an adult who puts them down, berates them, humiliates them, an adult that physically abuses them, okay? And if you know my kiddo, you know that that's not her, but you also know that her hair's a mess like that all the time, and she has those deep eyes like that. And so as I'm building the slide, Sadie said, "Mama, why are you using another picture of me?" And I said, "Oh, baby, that's not you." And she said, "Well, what does it say?" And if you know us, you know I'm the kind of mom that read it to her and talked to her about it for a moment. And she said, "Huh, I got 3 of those." Wow. Okay, so then as a parent, I'm looking at it and going, which 3 does she think she has? Because her dad and I are married, and we're both very much alive. And, okay, I start going down the list a little bit. Anybody else have children that come home that week of October that's Red Ribbon Week? You know, when we tell kids not to do drugs or alcohol, and suddenly every parent, this is my experience as a teacher, every child is worried about their parents' drug abuse or alcohol abuse because mama has a glass of wine, daddy has a beer, whatever it is. Okay, there's alcohol in my home. So in her mind, I don't think she knows what abuse alcohol means. She is the most sensitive child I've ever met. You say one thing to her, one correction publicly, and she is humiliated for days over it. And I'm not going to lie, I've flicked my child in the cheek, a little sassy. You've taught her, okay? Don't call me. Don't call DCF. I'm good. We're good, okay? But I have spanked my child before. So I think those are the 3 that she's looking at. But can I be honest? She's got 4. Because I really struggle with number 3 and have pretty much my entire life. And I got some help with that, and it's working. But realistically, my daughter, who is 8 and in the back room right now, has 4 of those. And I have most of them. And so when we start thinking about that, and we start thinking about the little things that kids experience, it puts this so much into perspective. That how can I expect them to grow up and build strong, healthy, live brains when I'm struggling with mine? Here's what we also know. We used to believe, the science that he's talking about used to say that the brain was set by early childhood. You're an early childhood person. You used to hear that by 5 years old, your brain was set. And you ask this question, what happens if this stuff happens when you're 40? Here's the deal. Our brains can and want to heal at any age. At any age. And some of you are living testaments to that in this room. Your brain can and wants to heal at any age. Our brains are plastic. We can mold them and shape them. And the one thing that does that are those straws that were sitting on the pink card. It is never on our own ability. We talked about this morning. It is never just me who gets through something. There's always someone on the other side that helps facilitate that process. And I think about when Pastor does the 2 chairs. Right? He talks about the chairs and how that chair is always coming back in front of you. What we know is that that chair is usually filled with the face of someone in our lives that is acting as the face and the hands and the feet of Jesus in those moments. Usually it's someone we can see that helps facilitate that process for us. So go ahead, Lucas, and move to that next one. I want you to, as we kind of wrap up and think here for a moment, what was your genetic lottery? What social supports were you born with? What happened between 0 and 8 to you? And how did you rely on social supports? How did you rely on that person who was sitting and turning that chair constantly in front of you to know that you were good and loved and you could do better? Not that you could do better, but that your life could be better. Who gave you that hope in those moments? So last time, if you were here, we talked about your enlightened witness. We talked about someone in your life who gave you a message. You never have just one. If I started thinking about my life, I could fill a paper with the people who stood on the other side of me and facilitated this process with me. The people who were my social supports, my little straws. So I want you to think about this for a moment. If you feel comfortable with the people at your table, have a conversation about this. Share as much as you would like to share. But let's wrap up thinking about what was my lottery and who really was able to be the real prize and help me overcome those things. Let's go ahead and have that discussion with your table, and then I'll leave it to Quentin and Heather to finish this up and wrap us up in prayer here in a few moments. I don't want to stall anyone's conversation, but I also want to honor your time. So I'm going to invite Quentin to come up and close us in prayer if he'd be so gracious to do so. I want to thank you for spending some time tonight. And I hope that you'll continue to come back and work with us a little bit further. We're going to do something different every Wednesday, but it'll always be on this same topic, just moving us further into relationship with one another. So thanks for your time tonight, and I'm going to let Quentin chat, or Quentin pray, and then you can continue to chat for a few moments if you feel inclined to do so. A few moments. It is 8:10.